single lie shatters lives, separates lovers, and changes the course of history. But can the truth ever make things right? Stick around as we uncover the heart-wrenching story of Atonement. The story begins in 1935 at a grand English countryside estate owned by the Tallis family. At the heart of this story are three characters: Cecilia Tallis, the eldest daughter, Bryony, her imaginative younger sister, and Robbie Turner, the son of the family's housekeeper. Cecilia and Robbie grew up together, sharing the closeness that often forms in childhood. Now, as adults, their dynamic has shifted, charged with an underlying tension neither is entirely ready to confront. Bryony, on the other hand, is a precocious 13-year-old with a flair for storytelling. Her creative mind sees the world in heightened drama, often blurring the lines between reality and her own vivid imagination. On this particular day, she finishes writing a play, hoping to impress her family. But little does she know, her imagination will soon lead to consequences far greater than she could ever foresee. The story begins to take shape around a seemingly small event by the estate's fountain. Cecilia and Robbie share an awkward encounter here. Cecilia, feeling defensive, strips down to her slip and steps into the fountain to retrieve a broken vase, while Robbie watches from a distance. To an outsider, the scene might appear charged with tension, but to Bryony, spying from an upstairs window, it becomes something entirely different. From her youthful perspective, Bryony misinterprets what she sees. Her vivid imagination fills in the gaps, painting Robbie as someone dangerous and unpredictable. This moment plants a seed of doubt in her mind, one that will only grow stronger as the evening unfolds. Later that day, tensions between Cecilia and Robbie come to a head. They find themselves alone in the estate's library, where their unspoken feelings finally erupt into a passionate embrace. This moment solidifies their bond, but it also sets the stage for tragedy. Bryony, once again, stumbles upon the scene. Her innocent yet meddlesome nature leads her to misinterpret what she's witnessing for a second time. This misreading of events convinces her further that Robbie's intentions are far from noble. The final straw comes later that evening when a young relative of the family is attacked on the estate grounds. Amidst the chaos, Bryony is quick to point the finger at Robbie. Armed with her earlier observations and a misplaced sense of righteousness, she tells the adults in the room that she saw Robbie commit the crime. Robbie, despite being innocent, is powerless to defend himself. The Tallis family's status and Bryony's testimony ensure that he is arrested. Cecilia, heartbroken, stands by Robbie, but her protests fall on deaf ears. Robbie's arrest marks a turning point in the story. His life, filled with promise and ambition, is derailed in an instant. Once a bright young man with dreams of a future beyond the Tallis estate, he is now a criminal in the eyes of society. The story jumps forward, and the world is now gripped by the horrors of World War II. Robbie, released from prison under the condition that he joins the army, finds himself far from home, navigating the chaos of war. His only solace comes from letters exchanged with Cecilia. For both Robbie and Cecilia, these letters are lifelines, keeping their love alive despite the physical and emotional distance between them. They dream of a reunion, of a life together once the war ends. But the shadow of Bryony's actions continues to loom over them, threatening to keep them apart forever. As Bryony grows older, she begins to see the cracks in her version of the truth. The guilt she once brushed aside starts to creep in, gnawing at her conscience. Her passion for writing becomes a double-edged sword, forcing her to confront the power and danger of her imagination. As the story continues, we are thrust into the chaos of World War II. Robbie, now a soldier, marches across the war-torn French countryside. The once hopeful young man is now hardened by years of injustice and survival. The grim reality of war pushes him to his limits, but one thing keeps him going: Cecilia. Their love, sustained by the letters they exchange, becomes his lifeline. In the depths of despair, Robbie clings to the dream of returning to her. Their separation is agonizing, but their bond remains unbroken. Every word they write to each other is filled with longing and the hope that they will one day be reunited. Cecilia, too, is enduring her own battle. She works as a nurse in London, tending to soldiers injured in the war. The horrors she witnesses each day mirror Robbie's experience on the battlefield. Yet, she remains steadfast, holding on to the belief that Robbie will come back to her. Meanwhile, Bryony has grown into a young woman. The once naive girl is now fully aware of the devastation her actions have caused. The weight of her guilt is a constant presence, haunting her every thought. Determined to make amends, Bryony follows in Cecilia's footsteps and becomes a nurse. Her work exposes her to the harsh realities of life and death, forcing her to confront the consequences of her youthful arrogance. She begins to understand the pain she inflicted on Robbie and Cecilia, as well as the irreversible damage to their lives. Bryony's guilt drives her to seek reconciliation. She writes a novel about the events of that fateful summer day, hoping to lay bare the truth. But she knows that words alone are not enough. She must face Robbie and Cecilia to offer a heartfelt apology and take responsibility for her actions. In a pivotal moment, Bryony visits Cecilia, who is now living in a small London flat. Robbie is there too, recently back from the war. The tension in the room is palpable as Bryony confesses her guilt and pleads for forgiveness. She tells them she wants to set the record straight, to retract her testimony and clear Robbie's name. The encounter is fraught with raw emotion. While Cecilia and Robbie listen to her apology, it is clear that the wounds run deep. Bryony leaves with no guarantee of their forgiveness, but she is determined to do whatever it takes to make amends. As the story approaches its conclusion, we are hit with a stunning revelation. Years later, an elderly Bryony reflects on her life and reveals that her account of visiting Robbie and Cecilia was not entirely true. The heartbreaking reality is that Robbie and Cecilia never reunited. Robbie died during the war, and Cecilia perished in a bombing. Bryony's story was her way of giving them the happy ending they were cruelly denied in real life. It was her way of atoning for her actions, even if only in fiction.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to check out our next video.